All right, let's get one thing straight. This is not a celebrity profile. What we're doing today is reverse engineering a high-performance system, and that system is Hugh Jackman. I mean, think about it. How does one person convincingly pull off the savage, feral rage of Wolverine and then turn around and command a Broadway stage with the soaring voice of Jean Valjean? Our goal here is to deconstruct this anomaly, not as some gift from the heavens, but as the manufactured result of systematic, relentless engineering.
Okay, so let's look at the core specs of the industry. On one side, you've got your action hero specialist. This machine is built for one thing: physical intimidation, pure kinetic power. It's designed to own the blockbuster market. On the other side, you have the musical theater specialist. This system is all about emotional resonance, vocal endurance. It's built to own the live stage. We're talking two totally different engineering blueprints, right? Aimed at completely separate markets. So the central problem we're here to solve is, how did a single product, Hugh Jackman, manage to dominate both at the exact same time?
And that really brings us to the core question of this whole breakdown. Are we just looking at a miracle of raw, God-given talent, or are we witnessing a triumph of meticulous, repeatable engineering? We're going to treat this like a forensic analysis of a system that completely rewrote the rulebook.
To get to the bottom of it, we've got a clear roadmap. We just covered the anomaly. Next, we're going to pinpoint the exact origin moment in the replacement hinge. Then we're going to deconstruct the hardware in biometric engineering and the software in philosophical engineering. After that, we'll analyze the results in legacy, and finally, we'll give you the source code with the Jackman equation.
You know, every great system has an origin point, right? A moment of intense crisis where it's first put to the test. For the Jackman method, this was that moment. This was the birth of a whole new operating system.
So picture this. It's the set of X-Men, 1999. It's a massive, high-stakes production, and the whole machine is just broken down. Their Wolverine, an actor named Dougray Scott, is stuck shooting Mission Impossible 2. Weeks are just ticking by. The studio is panicking. They're not even looking for the perfect actor anymore. They're just looking for a vibe to fill a multi-million-dollar hole. And into this chaos walks a last-minute replacement, an Australian actor known mostly for stage musicals. And this is the moment. Standing in a hallway, surrounded by a crew who sees him as second best, Jackman has a realization. This isn't his big break. This is a laboratory. He knows that to give them a mutant, he first has to build a human machine. This is where the work begins.
And that led to his first core principle: strategic sovereignty. See, Jackman has said he was considered a dunce in drama school, not the most naturally gifted guy. But in that hallway, he weaponized that label. It became his greatest strength. Why? Because being the dunce meant he'd already mastered the art of work when talent just wasn't enough. He understood process. He understood repetition. He knew that if he could just out-prepare everyone else in the room, especially when they saw him as a compromise, eventually they'd have no choice but to call his work genius.
And this is the crucial part. This was not about luck. He wasn't just hoping to land a head movie. No, he was strategically hunting for the hinge, that one single leverage point that could pivot his entire career. He got it. True power isn't about being the first choice. It's about being the only person in the room willing to do the insane amount of work required to become the only choice. This was a calculated move to change the game itself. Okay, so that hinge moment set the philosophy. But the method itself, that required some serious raw engineering. So let's move to the first component, the hardware. It's time to deconstruct the physical instrument and see how it was systematically rebuilt for maximum impact.
He operated on a principle you could call kinetic honesty. Here's the idea. You replace acting with physical manifestation. As an audience, we have this trust gap, right? We know they're an actor. Kinetic honesty is about closing that gap through sheer, undeniable physical sacrifice. Instead of pretending to be in pain or pretending to be powerful, you engineer the body to a state where it simply is those things. For the movie Logan, he didn't just want to look shredded for vanity. He wanted to achieve a state of physical decay so extreme that we wouldn't just believe he was a dying Wolverine. We would see the brutal cost of that life etched into his skin.
And the dehydration protocol is a perfect, almost terrifying example of this. It's a precise, multi-stage system for a very specific visual output. Let's break it down. First, you load. For days, you drink a massive amount of water, like 3 gallons a day. This tricks your body into flushing water constantly. It thinks there's an endless supply. Second, you cut. Exactly 36 hours before the camera rolls, you stop all liquid. Just Done. Your body, though, is still in hyper-flushing mode. It doesn't realize the supply is gone. And the result is that it starts pushing out all the water from between your skin and your muscle.
And the effect is what you see right here. The skin becomes paper thin. It literally shrink wraps around the muscles. He's at a body fat percentage in the low single digits, and with no water under the skin, every vein, every muscle fiber, every piece of sinew is visible. That's how you get that iconic berserker look. This isn't makeup, it's not CGI. It is pure, painful, physiological engineering, all to tell the story of a character who is a living weapon.
But the physical engineering wasn't just about destructive force. It was also about maintaining an incredibly delicate instrument, his voice. For this, he developed a system he called the vocal rainforest. He understood that vocal cords aren't just a tool, they're a delicate biological ecosystem. When you're doing 8 shows a week on Broadway or singing live on a freezing film set for Les Mis, the enemy is dryness. Dry vocal cords get brittle, they get damaged, they fail. The only solution is to create an environment of constant, pervasive humidity. And his method for creating this ecosystem was, again, tangible and just obsessive. This wasn't just about having a humidifier in his room. He would spend his nights in a steam bath, but with a wet washcloth over his face, literally creating a personal, humid microclimate right around his mouth and nose. This ensures that every single breath he takes is saturated with moisture. It's this level of detail, this understanding of the body as a machine that needs precise inputs, that separates the Jackman method from just trying hard. So we've seen the hardware, the body, engineered for both brute force and delicate control. But hardware is useless without the right software. So now we move to the philosophical engineering, the core operating principles that run the entire system. This slide right here really frames the radical shift in mindset. The old Hollywood model says your talent is your ceiling. That's as good as you get, you rely on your charisma, you fit a type, and your main goal is to just look good on camera. The Jackman method flips that completely on its head. Here, talent is the floor. It's the bare minimum entry requirement. From there, everything is built on process and systems. The goal isn't to look good, it's to find the truth. You're not a static type, you are an adaptable, reprogrammable instrument. And this quote is the mission statement for his entire software system. A movie set isn't a stage for performance. It's a laboratory for discovery. This means you aren't there to just be brilliant. You're there to test variables, to run trials, to fail, to adjust, and to experiment until you discover the truth of a scene. This approach completely takes the ego out of it. It's not about the actor's genius, it's about the relentless pursuit of an objective truth.
This philosophy was built on 4 core principles. First, strategic displacement. By mastering the completely different logics of musical theater and intense physical action, he forced the industry's rigid categories to adapt to him, not the other way around. Second, clever simplicity. He famously learns the name of every single crew member on day 1. This isn't just about being a nice guy, it's strategic. A unified, respected team is a more powerful machine than one driven by a star's ego. Third, systematic flexibility. Every role was a new work cycle. He didn't have one method. He built a new system for each character, making him impossible to predict or typecast. And finally, kinetic dance audits. He used his dance background to deconstruct fight scenes not as chaotic brawls, but as precise choreography. Every fight you see is a brutal, violent dance.
So, we have the hardware and the software. We have the engineered body and the disciplined mind. So what's the output? What's the legacy of this system? Well, the result was nothing less than rendering the Hollywood specialist model completely obsolete.
He created a massive market disruption. Think of it like this. There was a lane for the action star and a separate lane for the musical theater star. By engineering himself to dominate both, to be Wolverine and P.T. Barnum, he basically merged the 2 roads and built a multi-lane highway all for himself. The one-dimensional specialists, they were left behind, stuck competing for space in lanes he had already conquered and moved on from. His versatility wasn't a party trick, it was a weapon of market conquest.
And ultimately, his legacy is a documented antidote to typecasting. He proved that range isn't luck, it's the direct output of relentless work. He transformed the very idea of the leading man from a static type to a dynamic architect who builds each role from the ground up. And he showed that the most disruptive force in Hollywood isn't some diva, it's an actor who simply refuses to stop rehearsing. And in doing so, he turned that moment in the hallway, that last-minute substitution, into the single most important act of a legendary career.
So, we've reverse-engineered the system.
We've seen its parts, its philosophy, its impact. Now let's distill it down to its source code. This is about taking this whole case study and turning it into a user manual that you can apply to your own work.
It all comes down to this core belief. The truth is in the logic, and your work is the code for your greatness. Success isn't magic. It's not a mystery. It is the result of a logical, repeatable process.
And here it is, the Jackman equation. It's just two core variables. On one side, you have extreme preparation. That's the software, the relentless mindset, breaking every task down into a system of rehearsals. On the other side, you have biometric discipline. That's the hardware, treating your body and your tools not as things you're stuck with, but as instruments to be maintained, optimized, and engineered. And the sum of those two variables equals sovereign versatility, the power to operate and excel in any domain you choose, because you've built the system to do it.
So we'll end with a question for you. Look at your own life, your career, your goals. What is the one routine task, the one project you've just been accepting as standard that is secretly your X-Men set? What is your hinge moment, waiting for you in a metaphorical hallway? Find that task, apply this equation, and ask yourself, what would happen if you committed so deeply to the preparation that you engineered a completely new level of range? Because the force to change your trajectory, that's a choice, and your work is the code.